Now, when it comes to Drake, things have officially spiraled out of control. In this wild attempt to stage a comeback that absolutely nobody asked for, Drake just pulled one of the boldest and dumbest moves of his entire career. This wasn't just another publicity stunt gone wrong. This was straight up disrespect toward the very icon he once called his idol, Michael Jackson. Yes, the same Michael Jackson whose legacy he once praised is now being used in one of Drake's most questionable moments ever. Drake's always been known for testing limits, but this time, he went way too far. People in the industry are saying it loud. Drake just crossed the line. And the craziest part, it's not even subtle. The man who once wanted to be the new MJ just disrespected the original king of pop in a way that's got the whole music world buzzing with disbelief. And before we dive deeper into this chaotic mess, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Seriously, this one deserves your full attention because what Drake just did could go down as one of the worst PR disasters in recent hip-hop history, because ever since Drake dropped that Nokia video, everything about his so-called comeback has felt forced, fake, and desperate. His team's been working overtime, pushing narratives, planting stories, trying to convince fans that the crown still belongs to him. But come on, no amount of marketing can hide what's really happening here. Behind all those flashy visuals and fake smiles, Drake's been doing everything to manipulate the charts, twisting numbers, and stirring beef with Kendrick Lamar just to stay relevant. He's been crafting fake records, spinning false narratives, all to keep people believing he's still untouchable. But the truth? He's slipping. The only thing he truly needed, the one thing that could have saved this comeback, was for Nokia to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And trust me, the desperation to make that happen says everything about where Drake's career really stands right now. After dropping his so-called new record, which suspiciously lifted something straight from the Beatles, Drake decided to take things even further. This time, he aimed at the man who was bigger than the Beatles themselves, Michael Jackson. His plan? To surpass MJ with the most #1 songs ever and then brag about being the ultimate artist of all time. Drake really thought that by playing with those numbers, twisting the narrative, and faking his way into the record books, he could convince the world that he'd gone beyond hip-hop itself. But here's the thing, nobody's buying it. Despite all the smoke and mirrors, despite the lies and staged achievements, this desperate move backfired hard. Drake didn't just use Michael Jackson's legacy, he exploited it. And in doing so, he crossed a line you don't come back from. Fans and artists alike are calling it out. Drake tried to manipulate the legends to prop himself up, and it blew up in his face. Now, behind the scenes, OVO's been working overtime. His entire camp, producers, PR, and hang-ons, have been scrambling to hold up this illusion that Drake's comeback is real. They're pulling strings, buying buzz, and whispering in every industry ear they can find, hoping to make the world believe Drake's about to reach untouchable levels again. But the truth is louder than any chart position. Everything he's done has only exposed how far he's fallen and how little respect he has for those who paved the way. Even now, while he's trying to spin narratives and make Kendrick Lamar look like the villain, Drake's crew, people like Baca from OVO, are jumping into the chaos, trying to balance the field in rap. But the more they move, the faker it all looks. Drake's grand illusion of dominance, it's unraveling right in front of everyone's eyes. Drake and his camp have been busy throwing shade, claiming Kendrick Lamar is some awful person who lies and does whatever he wants. But let's be real, hip-hop isn't buying that nonsense for a second. Everyone sees straight through it. The real game here isn't about who's the better man, it's about Drake trying to drag the spotlight back onto himself and make people forget that his career took a massive hit he still hasn't recovered from. Behind all that fake moral outrage is a much bigger play, a carefully built illusion designed to make Drake look unstoppable again. His team's been pushing a story so hard it almost feels scripted. They lined up 3 major moments, 3 big wins that they thought would convince the world Drake's officially back on top and even beyond Kendrick Lamar. So let's break it down. First, they dropped this updated record claiming Drake just moved a new career total in units. But here's the catch, they chose now to update those numbers right when the so-called comeback needed extra juice. That's not coincidence, that's calculation. They're banking on casual fans not knowing how these certifications work, because unlike Drake, Kendrick doesn't care about those flashy updates. His team hasn't even refreshed his numbers since Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, meaning none of that album's insane success has been added in. So when Drake's people brag about totals, it's all smoke. He's flexing numbers that can't even be fairly compared. But they didn't stop there. Drake's PR machine decided to go even bigger, trying to force his name into conversations with all-time legends. Their strategy? Make the world believe he surpassed the greats, turn him into the guy who beat history. And to make that stick, they dropped another conveniently timed milestone. Suddenly, headlines popped up saying Drake just passed the Beatles on the Billboard 200 chart for total weeks charted. Perfect timing, right? Another win to wave in everyone's faces, another reason to tweet about how Drake's untouchable again. But the deeper truth? This was never about the music. It was about manipulation. Every stat, every headline, every achievement has been part of one giant illusion designed to make fans forget the backlash, the fading hype, and the fact that Kendrick's been running circles around him without even trying. Drake's not chasing greatness anymore. He's chasing optics. And the more he tries to fake his way back to the throne, the more obvious it becomes that the kingdom might already be gone. Drake knew that just seeing his name next to the Beatles would grab attention no matter what. That's the power of nostalgia and headlines, and he's been milking it for all it's worth. But the real obsession, the thing that's been eating away at him more than anything, isn't just another #1 song. Nah, for Drake, it's the #1. The one that would push him past Michael Jackson and crown him as the artist with the most Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits in history. That's been the dream, the goal, the obsession behind this entire Nokia rollout. Drake's plan was crystal clear: use every trick, every narrative, every smokescreen he could to make Nokia the chart-topping comeback anthem that would rewrite the story. The music video, the mysterious messages, the calculated timing, all of it was part of one huge push. If Nokia hit #1, he could once again use Michael Jackson's name like a stepping stool, just another legend to surpass on his climb to greatness. The problem? That move doesn't scream greatness, it screams desperation. And it only gets weirder when you think back to Family Matters, that track where Drake switched the beat and randomly threw shots at Michael Jackson while dissing Kendrick. It made no sense back then, and now it makes even less. It was Drake scrambling for any connection, any storyline, any excuse to make his words hit harder. Instead, it just showed how lost he was in the beef, reaching for anything that might stick. But the irony here is brutal. Remember how this whole feud between Drake and Kendrick kicked off? It started with the Prince versus Michael Jackson comparisons. Kendrick calling himself Prince, the innovator, the artist, and painting Drake as the one trying too hard to be MJ, the performer obsessed with image and validation. And now, all this time later, Drake's actions have proven Kendrick right. Because what we're seeing now isn't just ego, it's exploitation. Drake's using the very icons who shaped the music world as props to lift himself higher, without showing even a shred of respect for what they stood for. Michael Jackson and Prince were about artistry, evolution, and legacy. Drake's about optics, charts, and control. And the more he tries to play God with music history, the more obvious it becomes. He's not honoring the legends, he's using them. And now, as Drake keeps digging himself deeper, we're finally seeing just how wild and how disrespectful his latest stunt toward Michael Jackson really is. Because at this point, it's not even about music anymore. It's about desperation. What's crazy is how in this ongoing story of Drake, Kendrick, MJ, and Prince, one truth stands out clear as day. Kendrick Lamar is the one actually carrying their spirit. Musically, creatively, and even spiritually, Kendrick reflects the boldness of Prince and the depth of Michael Jackson, while Drake keeps slipping further behind, chasing clout instead of legacy. You want proof? Look at this so-called race Drake's been running against MJ, trying to break records, wave his stats around, and brag that he's better than the king of pop. He's been pulling that same trick for years with the Beatles, trying to rewrite history by flooding the charts with empty wins. But if you really break down the numbers, song for song, #1 for #1, the truth hits hard. Drake doesn't belong in that conversation at all, because when you line up Drake's #1 hits next to Michael Jackson's, it's like comparing fast food to fine dining. MJ's hits, Billie Jean, Beat It, Rock With You, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, those aren't just songs, they're cultural earthquakes. They define entire eras, shape genres, and are still being played worldwide decades later. Meanwhile, Drake's so-called chart toppers, half of them barely hang at #1 for a single week before disappearing off the radar. Some are carried by features, others by streaming manipulation, and most are forgotten faster than they debuted. And Drake knows it. That's why he leans so hard into streaming stats and temporary hype. It's the only way to make his numbers look bigger than they really are. He's been gaming the system, padding his stats, and selling the illusion that he's breaking records, when in reality, he's just exploiting an era that rewards repetition over impact. And that's what makes this whole MJ comparison so off. The arrogance. Even back when he rapped alongside J. Cole on First Person Shooter, flexing like he and MJ were in the same tier, it was already disrespectful. Michael's number ones were timeless works of art, Drake's are algorithm hits, yet he still dares to claim the same greatness, even though deep down everyone knows he's not creating classics, he's creating clicks. Drake's obsession with topping legends isn't about legacy, it's about insecurity. Because the more he forces his name next to theirs, the clearer it becomes that he's trying to fill a void that music history already answered. And no matter how high his numbers climb, he'll never touch the magic, the emotion, or the artistry of the real king of pop. When you talk about Michael Jackson, you're talking about pure musical magic. Songs like You Are Not Alone, The Way You Make Me Feel, Dirty Diana, and Ben. These aren't just hits, they're cultural landmarks, tracks that shape generations, that could play anywhere in the world and still have crowds singing every word. That's what a real number one sounds like. That's what timeless impact looks like. MJ didn't just top charts, he owned them. His music didn't rely on algorithms or playlists, it relied on emotion, talent, and world-shaking artistry. And that's where the line between Michael and Drake becomes painfully clear. Back in MJ's day, artists had to earn every single sale, every radio spin, every fan reaction. There were no streams to pad stats, no playlist placements to inflate numbers. It was raw connection, pure power, and undeniable greatness that made you number one. Drake, on the other hand, he's been coasting on a digital cheat code. Sure, early in his career, Drake had real hits, songs that genuinely resonated. But in the second half of his run, it's been a parade of hollow chart tricks. Just look at the tracks that pushed him closer to MJ's record: Jimmy Cooks, Toosie Slide, The Way Too Sexy off CLB, What's Next from Scary Hours 2, Slime You Out, and First Person Shooter with J. Cole. Be honest, how many of those still get heavy play today? Exactly. None of them stuck around. Each one popped for a week, just enough to grab that number one spot, then vanished from the top 10 like smoke in the wind. Fans checked them out of curiosity, not passion. It's like everyone listens because it's Drake, but once the hype fades, nobody's replaying those songs like they do Billie Jean. And that right there exposes the truth. Drake's chart victories aren't cultural moments, they're marketing schemes. And honestly, it's straight up disrespectful for him to even act like he's in the same class as Michael Jackson, trying to pit What's Next against Billie Jean. Come on, that's beyond delusional. It's comedy. MJ's hits define decades. Drake's recent ones barely last a weekend. What makes this even more wild is how humble Kendrick Lamar was when he got compared to MJ. When To Pimp a Butterfly earned the same kind of critical acclaim Thriller did, Kendrick said he didn't even want to think about surpassing Michael. He called it an honor just to be mentioned in the same breath. That's respect, that's awareness, that's what real artistry looks like. Meanwhile, Drake's over here trying to leapfrog legends who built the foundation he's standing on, acting like streaming stats make him immortal. But the truth is, no amount of digital numbers will ever make a Jimmy Cooks feel like a Beat It. Drake's playing for clicks, MJ played for history, and once you really see it, all the smoke, all the manipulation, it becomes clear what Drake's been doing with Nokia. He's not chasing history, he's chasing headlines. He wants to use this one record as a stepping stone, a fake symbol of redemption, when in reality, he didn't even earn it. He's been gaming the system in an era where it's never been easier to cheat the numbers. The playlists, the streaming spikes, the coincidental releases, all perfectly calculated. And when you compare that to the real legends, the ones who had to grind for every single sale, you see how wide that gap truly is. One artist honors the lineage of music, the other exploits it for personal gain, but here's where karma steps in, and it's beautiful. The best part of this entire chase, this desperate attempt to rewrite history and pretend he's bigger than Michael Jackson, is that it's not even working. Because despite all the PR spins, fake buzz, and inflated stats, there's one massive wall standing in Drake's way, and that wall's name is Kendrick Lamar. Ironically enough, it's Kendrick who's keeping Nokia from hitting that number one spot. His song Not Like Us is still dominating, still blocking Drake's climb. And that's the poetic justice in all this. After all the disses, all the subliminals, and all the attempts to tear Kendrick down, Drake can't even use MJ's legacy to pull himself back up because Kendrick's music is literally in the way. It's like the beef has evolved into something deeper, bigger than just two rappers trading shots. Kendrick's win here isn't just personal, it's symbolic. By holding that top spot, he's not only keeping Drake from bragging about being bigger than Michael Jackson, he's protecting the culture, the lineage, and the respect that real artistry deserves. Drake wanted to rewrite history with fake numbers, but now he's watching history rewrite him. Every move he makes to prove he's untouchable only shows how insecure he's become. Meanwhile, Kendrick, without even saying a word, is showing the world that talent, authenticity, and respect for the greats still matter. So while Drake keeps chasing ghosts, Kendrick's over here defending the throne of real music, and that's a victory that numbers can't buy. What Michael Jackson achieved with his #1 hits actually meant something, because back then, people had to genuinely love your music to make it climb the charts. Those songs weren't boosted by algorithms or playlists. They earned their spots through raw talent, cultural power, and timeless impact. Every one of MJ's #1s was a global event, a moment in history that people felt. Now look at Drake's list of #1 hits. Be honest, how many of those do people even remember today? The truth is brutal. Most of those tracks came and went in a blink. They were hyped for a week, blasted all over social media, and then vanished from the culture like they were never there. That's not legacy, that's short-term noise. Even crazier, Drake's got songs that were way bigger in popularity than those supposed #1s, yet the ones topping the charts are the most forgettable of his entire career. And yet, Drake seems to think that just because Nokia managed to hang around the top 10 a little longer than usual, suddenly he's back, suddenly he's serious again. In his mind, that's proof he can still be compared to Michael Jackson and the Beatles. But that illusion ends right here, because music's already moving past him, and fast. The truth is, Drake's era of dominance is fading. The streaming tricks, the inflated stats, the endless narratives, they can't mask the fact that the music just doesn't hit the way it used to. The energy's gone, the hunger's gone, and fans are starting to see through the facade. The industry might still feed him headlines, but the culture's letting go. He can try all he wants to rewrite history, but he'll never come close to the greatness of MJ or the Beatles. Those artists built legacies that can't be faked, replicated, or algorithmically inflated. And honestly, it's almost poetic because for once, after years of manipulation, it feels like balance is being restored. Drake wanted to crown himself the king, but the throne belongs to those who earned it the real way. And at least for now, that truth still stands tall. With Kendrick Lamar and Luther holding down that #1 spot, Drake's dream of twisting Michael Jackson's legacy for his own gain is officially dead, finished. No matter how hard he tries to spin it, he'll never be able to turn MJ's greatness into a marketing tool again. The universe itself seems to be saying, "Not this time, Drake." It's poetic justice, because the same legends he tried to climb over are the very ones his music can't touch. And now, I want to know what you think. How do you feel about Drake trying to use and disrespect MJ's legacy just to prop himself up? Do you think this stunt will finally make him realize that you can't fake greatness forever? Or will he double down and keep chasing numbers like they mean something real? And more importantly, do you think Nokia will ever actually hit #1? Or has Kendrick already locked that door for good? Because right now it's looking like Drake's entire comeback fantasy just went up in smoke. Let me know down below what you think about all this chaos, because this might be one of the wildest turns in Drake's career yet. And if you made it this far into the video, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. It helps me out a ton and keeps the channel growing. And if you want to see exactly how Drake just got exposed in one of the worst ways possible, showing that he might have made one of the biggest mistakes of his entire career, trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. See you in the next one.